Welcome back. Today, I'll be going over what an amazing game the LSU women's basketball had Tuesday, and specifically going into detail who I think the next big name in women's basketball will be, Michaela Williams. Then I'll preview the LSU-Georgia State game this Saturday, November 18th, talking about what to look at this weekend, who to keep an eye on, and recruiting updates for the LSU Tigers. This episode will be finished off by bringing in the news and sports director for the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo, with William Weathers, the assistant editor of Tiger Rag, while they sit down with Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers. This is your host, Camryn Conner, with Tiger Rag Audibles podcast. I would like to thank our sponsor, Pawpaw's Campers and Cars, pawpawsrvs.com, 1-800-728-CAMP, 1-800-728-2267.
Hey neighbors, we're not that far from where you are. Make that short drive to Pawpaw's Campers in Picayune and see our Wildwood, Catalina, Sportsman, and Zinger trailer lines and our Rockwood and Heritage Glen fifth wheel lines. From Houma to Hammond, Biloxi to Jackson, and Mobile and Pensacola, we're not that far from where you are. Come and see us.
You're gonna love the way we deal. Pawpaw's Campers City and Picayune. You're gonna love the way we deal.
All right, let's start by talking about number 12, Lady Tiger guard Michaela Williams, who is on a ranked 7 LSU women's basketball team. Last Tuesday, Michaela Williams set the NCAA-era LSU freshman scoring record with 42 points in the PMAC during the annual field trip game as the Tigers took down Kent State 109-79. Williams was 15 of 20 from the field, including 5 of 8 from 3 with 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Totaling for 42 points, she set the NCAA-era LSU freshman record and became just the 11th player in program history to total over 40 points. This hasn't happened since Cornelia Gayden set the LSU scoring record with 49 points in 1995. We even saw Michaela's talents the first opening game of the season against the Colorado Buffaloes. Williams scored 17 points and had 4 rebounds that game, and since then, Williams has averaged about 20 points per game. Overall, this season so far is looking great for the LSU Women Tigers and for Michaela Williams specifically. What she's doing is insane, even more so insane whenever you sit back and you watch her and you realize this is just a freshman on the court. She's got multiple years left, only going to get better and better from here. And while I'm talking about breaking records at LSU, Jaden Daniels, of course, and those LSU Tigers, they just keep playing better each Saturday. So let's take a look at this Saturday's game against Georgia State. LSU and Georgia State will be playing Saturday, November 18th at 7 p.m. in Tiger Stadium. Before I get too far into this, I want to go over the stats a little bit. Georgia State is 6th in the Sun Belt East with a 6-4 record, and LSU is 2nd in the SEC West with a 7-3 record. LSU, on average, scores 45.9 points per game, whereas Georgia State scores 27.1. And then Georgia State is number 125 in the country in passing yards allowed per game with over 282 a contest. All around, looking at these stats and especially watching the past 3 games Georgia State has played in, it's really hard to compare LSU's talents to another school, especially with Jaden Daniels breaking FBS records, what seems left and right. The big question for this game is going to be how long is Jaden Daniels going to be sitting in the game, and what exactly this Saturday and the next Saturday are going to look like for Jaden Daniels as he is in the run for the Heisman.
And I think what we do is try to play the kind of football that has been the hallmark of this offense. And so you want to feel as though that you're playing to that standard. And then you evaluate it, from quarter to quarter. But you got to reach that standard of play, and then we'll see where that takes us. There'll be some times when we've been, not to the standard of what we believe our team is. So it's really immaterial about the opposition. It's really about our standard. So we'll judge this based upon our standard of play, and go from there.
This game, this Saturday, and then next Saturday's game against A&M, we're looking at a lot of individual achievements that can be done. Like I just said, Jaden Daniels, he's looking at the Heisman. He's campaigning for the Heisman right now. This is going to be a huge game, especially coming off of last week's game against Florida, where, like I said, breaking FBS records, what feels like it's left and right whenever you watch them on the field. It's going to be a huge game also for number 8 wide receiver Malik Neighbors. Neighbors sits just at 284 yards away from the program record for career receiving yards, and with 2 home games remaining in the regular season, there's a real shot, guys, that he makes a good run at breaking that record. He's impacted games on the outside, in the slot, and even as a blocker, all 3 of which were on full display during the Tigers' 52-35 win over the Gators. Overall, I think we're going to be looking at a very high-scoring game from the LSU Tigers. I know there's a 30-point spread, but I want to say, and I feel like there is going to be a 40-point spread with the 57-14 finish with LSU winning. Here's a bit more of an insight about the Georgia State Panthers from the News and Sports Director, Jeff Palermo, and the Assistant Editor of Tiger Rag, William Weathers, going over the scouting report from Dave Cohen, the voice of the Georgia State Panthers.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo, along with the Assistant Editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, William Weathers. It's time to get a scouting report on LSU's opponent this Saturday, and that would be the voice of the Georgia State Panthers. Dave Cohen joins us here on Tiger Rag Radio. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Just looking forward to the rest of the week of practice and get down to Baton Rouge and see what transpires in this quote-unquote big showdown between Georgia State and the 15th-ranked team in the country.
Well, Georgia State was having a nice season. This is going to be your second trip, if I recall, if I'm correct, to the Bayou State. You went to Lafayette and got a big win, a game where an interception in the end zone to seal the victory on the final play of the game. And Georgia State looked like everything was going really well for the Panthers. And since then, GSU's lost 3 in a row. What's been the obviously some good teams. Last Saturday, a 42-14 loss to Appalachian State.
Yeah, the wheels have come off on the offense a little bit the last 3 weeks. And not one to make excuses. We played at Louisiana on a Saturday night, and you're right, Gavin Pringle had a big interception. The Raging Cajuns had it at our 7, and it wasn't looking very good, but we got out of Lafayette with a W. Got back to Atlanta on Sunday, and they really were only able to practice Monday and Tuesday, and then they left for South Georgia, spent the night Wednesday night, and next thing you know, they're playing Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern is much improved. And, that's where, in my opinion, at least offensively, the wheels started to come off a little bit. I guess defensively, too, when you look at the amount of points that we gave up. And so for whatever reason, it's been a tough road to hoe with regards to trying to get back on the winning track. And part of the problem is you're right, the Sun Belt East is, if you follow the Sun Belt at all, is a pretty dadgum good division. The Sun Belt overall has improved, but when you drill down just to the east, there's not an easy game on the schedule. Some of those schools probably look at us as an easy game on the schedule, but it's been back-to-back Georgia Southern on the road on a short week of practice, and then James Madison, who's top 25, and then this past Saturday against Appalachian State. And, for the most part, it's been Coastal. We beat Coastal Carolina early. I say that because Coastal Carolina, James Madison, and Appalachian State, for the most part, have been the football face of the Sun Belt over the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And so, yeah, we got off to a great start. We were 6-1. We got a road win at Coastal, but, now we're playing the upper echelon, some of the, what I would call the elite Sun Belt schools, all in the East, and we've just been struggling. I mean, we've given up 42 points each of the last 2 games. Both of the scores the last 2 games have been identical. A loss to James Madison, 42-14, and a loss to Appalachian State, 42-14. Now, this is a Georgia State team that over the first 7 games was averaging just over 30 points a game. And for whatever reason, the offense has just really kind of hit a proverbial wall with regards to being able to put the ball in the air, which Darren Granger had been playing very well, and Marcus Carroll had been running very well. He had over 1,000 yards, and we were 8 games into the season. But, again, playing some pretty good defensive teams the last 3 weeks, and Baton Rouge is going to be a tough place to try to right the ship with our second-to-last regular season game, but it's on the schedule, so we'll be there.
Hey, Dave, this is William. The LSU-GSU game is one of 7 non-conference games involving the SEC teams. Obviously, I think LSU is a 31 and 32-point favorite. How does this type of game sit with your program in terms of, like, you know, it's like you said, it's not going well right now, but you know what? It's an opportunity, besides getting a check, to maybe, you know, raise some eyebrows.
Yeah, you know, I was at practice again early today, and I did talk to Darren Granger for a little while for some of our radio interview stuff that we do. And, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you know, playing at any stadium in the Sun Belt Conference, albeit great, is not like playing in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. When you talk about college football stadiums and you know, the elite of college football, playing at Baton Rouge on a Saturday night is one of those ambiance-type stadium settings that everybody would love to not only play in but experience, whether you're going as a player or a fan. So just talking to Darren and a few of our other folks, people are excited about coming down there and hopefully playing well, but being a part of an atmosphere that we don't, on a week-in, week-out basis in the Sun Belt Conference, get to experience. Sure, there was a great crowd at Georgia Southern, but it was about 26,000. You know, great crowds at, well, I say good crowds where we go in the Sun Belt Conference, but nothing like what you guys see in Baton Rouge and around the Southeastern Conference on a weekly basis. So people are excited. Players are excited to play on that stage. All of our players, or most of our players, at one point or another the last, you know, however long they've been here, have played on that stage before, because we're normally playing one Power 5 opponent a year. And so it's not like they haven't experienced it before, but most of them have not experienced Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. So everybody's excited about getting down there and hopefully playing better than they've played the last 3 weeks, albeit against, you know, one of the top 20 teams in the country.
Dave, tell us a little bit about maybe some of the top players for Georgia State. We got a couple more minutes left here in this segment, so if you can kind of hit on a couple that might catch the eyes of LSU fans.
Well, I'll start out on the offensive side again. Darren Granger's our starting quarterback. He transferred from Furman University 3 years ago and has been really, really outstanding for us for the most part when you look at his numbers. We lost our top 2 running backs a year ago, although Darren was our leading rusher. He's the kind of quarterback that can, if things are going well, can hurt you with his legs as well as his arms or his arm. He's got a bevy of receivers to throw to. You'll see number 1, Robert Lewis, is the number 1 target. Number 16, Talik Williams, is also, I would say, the second top, the number 2 target. And up until the last couple of weeks, Marcus Carroll has been running the ball really, really well, but he's kind of like, along with Darren, it's a two-headed running monster. Marcus has been a workhorse this year, 244 carries. He's averaging about 24, 25 carries per game. He's scored 12 touchdowns, over 1,200 yards, but we're not deep at that position. And then from a defensive standpoint, our leading tackler is a guy that moved from outside linebacker, one of those rush outside guys, to the inside, and he's our leading tackler. That's John Trey Hunter, 79 tackles, 1 sack. Georgia State has been pretty good this year. Now, I know Jaden Daniels is not the kind of quarterback we see in the Sun Belt week in and week out, although we've got some good ones. But overall, the defense with 19 sacks, 62 tackles for loss, 9 interceptions on the year. So it'll be a great atmosphere. Hopefully it's the kind of game, even if hypothetical, if Georgia State does not win the game, they play well, come out of Baton Rouge with renewed confidence, and go into Old Dominion for our final regular season game before hopefully learning about a bowl bid.
Dave, thanks a lot. You'll enjoy Baton Rouge. You'll enjoy Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night. Have a great call.
I appreciate it. Been to Lafayette and Monroe many times, but in Shreveport, but looking forward to getting Baton Rouge, and hopefully we'll play well, and appreciate you having me on.
All right, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks very much.
And on some disappointing news for LSU fans, Kai Bates decommitted from LSU. Kai Bates was LSU's highest-rated cornerback commitment, and, you know, he's from Orlando, Florida. He's probably wanting to stay closer to home. The stats and everybody is saying that he's most likely going to end up going to Florida State since they're ranked number 4 in comparison to LSU's ranking of 15. Almost like as big of a hit as Andre Evans, who decommitted from LSU to go to Georgia. Again, Georgia's 2-time defending champs, undefeated in 2 years. That one makes sense. Andre Evans, of course, hurt less because after this loss, LSU did pick up P.J. Woodland and Bernard Causey, so at least they reacted to this. But Kai Bates, especially right now, is such a huge hit for LSU. It's significant because it's a huge need for them in this spot. Kelly wants to utilize recruiting more than the transfer portal, especially when it comes to developing defensive backs at LSU moving forward. And in the past 2 years, as you know, as you've seen, he's relied heavily on the transfer portal at that position.
People come from everywhere to Pawpaw's Campers and Cars.
Only Pawpaw's Campers and Hit is Pawpaw's Campers and Cars of people. And we're gonna let it go for I forgot. Take the whole family over to Picayune. We got something for you. All right. What else we gonna say? PawpawsNicePrice.com. That's probably all we need to say.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you guys for listening in. I'd like to thank Jeff and William for coming on with Dave Cohen today. I hope you'll have a good rest of y'all's day and enjoy watching the LSU-Georgia State game this Saturday. Bye, guys. I would like to thank our sponsor, Pawpaw's Campers and Cars. That's pawpawsrvs.com, 1-800-728-CAMP, 1-800-728-2267.